Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? My favorite video of the week to make, my weight loss update. I love making this video so much. And even more than that, I love getting on the scale for this video. So let's get right into this video. I think this is week 17 of my weight loss update. It seems crazy to think that I've been doing this for 17 weeks. And so let's just get right into the weight for today. And then, well, maybe I'll let you guys wait. Maybe I'll make you wait a little bit for the weight before I share with you guys where we're at for the day today. I have to say, and I shared a little bit about this last week, talking about, focusing on the successes, not the failures and things like that, because for much of this journey, I have focused on the mistakes that I've made and the failures and kind of beating myself up over, not walking as much and this and that and whatever, right? And so I've kind of gone on with that attitude. It was really helpful for me to share that with you guys last week. But I would say towards the end of this weigh-in week, I was struggling a little bit. I just was struggling a little bit. I was struggling mentally. I was struggling emotionally. I talked to my therapist about it. I talked to my sponsor about it. And I just felt like I was never going to reach my goals. And, it was a real struggle for me. And I was like, I don't really know what to do. And in fact, I talked to a friend of mine who has lost a ton of weight, and she was giving me a lot of great suggestions and just giving me a lot of hope and a lot of motivation. And she's like, just, keep on staying on the path that you're doing, and you're going to have ups and you're going to have downs and you're going to have struggles, and that's just going to be part of it, and I thought a lot about it. And I was like, my attitude in the past with having done diets or trying to, and I think many people out there probably relate to this, but, when you're trying to lose weight for let's say a wedding, right? Or a vacation or summer or something like that, right? You always have that goal, that time limit goal. What's different about it this time is that I'm just trying to be healthy, right? I'm trying to get down to a goal that my doctors want me to be, and just maintain that weight and then continue to be healthy. The fact that I have continued to do this for 17 weeks, continued to film videos for 17 weeks. I can remember when I very first started this video, or this channel, and I can even remember I wasn't going to film because, I was beating myself up and whatever. And then I was like, no, you said you're going to come on here, you're going to do this authentically and whatever. And the fact that 17 weeks later, here I am, and I'm still doing it is crazy to me, right? I'm not somebody that is very good with consistency, other than my sobriety and that I upload videos on a pretty consistent basis. Those are probably the only two things, well, in my marriage, those are probably the only things in my life that I'm pretty consistent with on a regular basis. And so the fact that I've been able to keep this up for 17 weeks that for me is a miracle, right? And there was one comment, and I talked about this last week, that was really, really helpful to me. And the person said something to the effect of even if you're not losing 2 pounds every week, or even if you gain a pound or two, in between here and there and whatever, if you continue to do this over the course of a year or two, and you continue to maintain your weight or lose a little bit at a time, eventually over a year or two, you're going to lose the weight that you want to lose. You're going to hit your goal eventually. And that really struck a chord with me. And the reason why was because, and I shared this story, I think, on here. I had a friend that she and I both got sober around the same time. We were real good friends before, and she was my lifeline to sobriety, my first year sober. And then she moved away and got her master's degree in business and things like that. And we've stayed friends all these years, and I adore her. She's I adore her so much. And so anyway, I can remember she was never really that heavy to begin with. I would never even have considered her overweight, but she wanted to lose 20 pounds. And I remember it was she was like, I don't want to do it real fast. I don't want to whatever. She was like, I want to do it over a long period of time, because if I lose it over a long period of time, I'm going to keep it off for a long period of time. And she did, she started doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and she changed her eating habits and all this kind of stuff. And I think it was 2 years or something like that I can't remember how long it was, but that she lost 20 pounds. And she's kept that weight off, since then. I think she started doing that, when we were both a year sober. My sobriety birthday is December 17th, and her sobriety date is January 1st. And so I think it was like at about a year sober that she started doing that, and she's kept that weight off. And so we're 29 years sober. For 27 years, she's kept that weight off, right? And just, you know, implemented good eating habits and being active and everything into her, you know, her daily life. And so that's what I'm really attempting to do, because I'm not somebody that's ever done that in my life. I'm somebody that's had periods of eating healthy and being very active. And I'm somebody that's had periods of, you know, being the weight that I wanted to be and things like that. But I'm not somebody that does a very good job maintaining it over a long period of time. You know, I've talked a lot about, you know, food addiction and all the other issues that go in with it. And it's interesting when I get a lot of comments about a food addiction. So as somebody that's experienced it, I just want to say this. As somebody that's experienced having a food addiction and has also worked on it extensively in therapy and with my sponsor, and applied a 12-step program to it, as somebody that also has accountability partners and stuff like that, I will say this, okay, is that the food addiction plays heavily into my food issues and all that kind of stuff. I have to be very, very careful, though, that I don't make it an excuse for everything. And I think that that's important, you know. I think, because, you know, before, it was interesting because when I would talk about it in vlogs and stuff, it was like, kind of like this thing that people that didn't like me kind of weaponized against me. And they would say, oh, Peter has a food addiction and he's not willing to address it and blah, 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 whatever. When I actually was addressing those things behind the scenes, I just wasn't being very successful at addressing them, but I was addressing them, right? And so, you know, like now that I feel like I've been really successful in working on it, I mean, had full therapy sessions, done steps on it and things like that. What I realize is that just like, you know, alcoholism and addiction, to drugs, that's not, you know, we say in addiction and we say in recovery that in sobriety that it is but a root of our problems, and, you know, or it is but a symptom of our problems. It's not the root of our problems. And I think that that's the main issue for me, right? Is looking at like when I'm really wanting to just go, F it, I'm just going to eat whatever I want to eat. What's really going on with me right there, right? Like I've said for years and years and years on and off video that, like, people ask me a lot on videos when I do Q&As about like craving alcohol, like do you crave drinking, whatever. And I don't really that often, but when I do, what I know today is that it's not that I'm like craving to like have a glass of wine or a Jack and Coke, which was my drink back in the day or whatever. It's like there's more going on with me, right? Because the drinking and the drugging and stuff for me was an escape. It was wanting to have fun. It was wanting to just get out of whatever mind and state that I was in at that time, right? And so, and I know that today. I mean, I love to drink. I'm an alcoholic because I love to drink, but one was too many and 1,000 was never enough. And I knew that it didn't work for me, right? Like over a period of time, like I had fun, but over a long period of time, the negative outweighed the good, if that makes sense. And so what I've realized is that today in my life, if I'm craving, like if I'm sitting there and I'm like, God, I just want to get drunk, which like very rarely ever happens to me, but let's just say if it did, right? What I know in that moment, not like, oh, a glass of wine sounds good. Like if I'm at dinner and I'm like, oh, that wine smells good. Not that. That's not what I'm talking about. That's completely different. I don't even feel like that's a craving, okay? You know, I think like sitting on a beach, like how I define cravings today versus when I first got sober are completely different. Like when I first got sober, like thinking that like, you know, going on somebody's boat and wanting to have a beer, like that was a craving, right? I know today that that's not entirely an internal and emotional craving. Like a craving for me today is like, I want to get drunk, right? Because I'm fully aware that that one beer on a boat is not gonna answer what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is to get drunk. I'm looking for the euphoria of it, okay? I'm not looking for just the image of sitting on a boat having a beer. What I've realized in 29 years sober is that a bottle of water or a Diet Coke will give me the exact same feeling on a boat that holding a beer does. And that's a reality. I know that today, right? So that craving, like in early sobriety, and I'm sure that my feelings about food will probably change over time too as I continue to do this, the way that I look at it. But in early sobriety for me, that very much was a craving. Like that was very real to me, right? To like, just like go to the grocery store and walk by the liquor aisle and be like, I'm not walking down that aisle. Like there's no reason for me to be there. And I still don't really go down liquor aisles, but like not even wanting to look at it because I was like, it's going to tempt me so bad. Like that craving, that instant craving was very, very real to me in early sobriety, right? Like when I go to the gas station now, if I like go in there to get a bottle of water or a fountain pop or something like that, like I go in and I go out. Like I don't like walk around and look at the candy and the potato chips and stuff like that, right? Now, I know that over time that will change for me. I know that what I'll realize is, and I'm starting to realize this, that when I'm wanting to really eat bad, something emotionally is going on for me, because it's like an escape for me. Like, that's one of the things that I've learned through my food addiction, is that I'm an emotional eater. So when I'm wanting to say, F it, I just want to eat everything, then for me, that's a reality that there's more going on with me. Like, for example, if I'm thinking to myself, I just want to get wasted, I just want to get drunk, I don't want to think about anything, that there's something going on with me. And then I need to take that, whatever's going on with me, and sometimes I don't even realize what that is at that moment, right? And I need to take that to my sponsor, I need to take that to my support system, my friends in recovery, I need to take that to my therapist and things like that, and be like, yeah, this is what's going on with me right now, I don't even know where it's coming from, right? And then kind of working it through and figuring it out, and usually, then the craving goes away. And that doesn't even really happen to me that often anymore, because I've worked through most of the issues. So typically when that happens, like, immediately I'm like, this is what's going on. Like, I'm stressed about this, or I'm sad about this, or whatever, right? And so, that's kind of how I relate the cravings today. It's different with food because I'm in the early stages of this. And so I'm still in the stages where it's like a beer on a boat sounds good, if that makes sense. Like a candy bar watching a movie sounds good. When I know I don't need that candy bar, I know I don't need that popcorn watching a movie, but it sounds good nonetheless, right? Like, and that's the start of it. It's almost kind of like the deceiving of the mind, if that makes sense. And so that's one of the things that I've had to be very, very careful of. But my friend that kept that weight off for all those years, and then that comment that I got, she really reminded me of that, the person that left the comment. So I just want to say thank you so much for that comment. So I was like, she's absolutely right. I'm somebody that goes so far and is like, okay, screw it, I'm done. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I can't do this. This is too difficult, blah, 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 whatever. And in all honesty, I kind of had that moment this week. I was just kind of like, I weighed myself, I was like 0.2 pounds up, I was like, I'm not really like meeting my goals, I'm just completely stagnant, and then I was like, but this is what's interesting, right, is that before, let's say weeks 1 through 5, where that would have gone to, okay, well then just screw it, just order a bunch of food, right? But that's not where it went this time. Where it went this time was, but what aren't you doing? Okay, are you doing this? Are you doing that? Are you walking more? Are you lifting weights more? Are you doing this? And so then it made me really critically look at the things that I wasn't doing. And that's kind of how things have changed for me over 17 weeks. In all honesty, like at the beginning, I would have just been like, screw it, I'm just going to order some food. But now I critically look at it and go, okay, but why are you upset with yourself? Why are you willing just to like throw it all in and be like, I'm done with it, I'm not doing this anymore and whatever, right? And so I kept up with it, okay? It was interesting because Tuesday night, we went to go see Stevie Nicks in concert. She was fantastic. And I had not eaten all day long. I usually eat like between like 8 and 9 o'clock at night. And I hadn't eaten all day long. And so we got done with the concert. It was like 11:30 on our way home. And I knew I had no food at home. Like, this is one of the things, right? Like, there's no snack food at home. There's like nothing for me to eat except for healthy meals that I bought that are like the prepared meals that probably aren't really that healthy because they have tons of sodium and things like that. But they're healthier than what I usually eat, right? I have those. I have like cans of soup. I have, vegetables and stuff like that. I have, cottage cheese. But I don't have tons of things here. Like, it's not like I can just go grab potato chips and whatever. And I was like, do not ask Alex to stop at the gas station because if you do, it's over, right? So we got home and I was like, honestly, I was just like, okay, I'm just not going to eat anything. But I was sitting there and I was watching a show and I was like, I am so hungry. Like, I've got to eat something, right? So I went in the kitchen and I started making like all this, like, I mean, it was a lot of healthy food. It was like 2 Morningstar plant-based breakfast sandwiches, different cottage cheeses. I had like made like 2 meals, 3 meals or something like that. And I'm like, I had all this stuff in front of me. I was like, okay, even though this is healthy food, it's still the same mentality. And like, I got like halfway through it. I was just like, you're not going to do this. Like, this is like basically, I always call it a picnic. Like, I set up a whole picnic of all this different kind of food in front of me, right? And I was like, even though this is like healthier food, lower calorie, high in protein, things like that, it's still the same mentality, right? And so it's kind of like, I caught it before it was like all over, right? And that was a success for me. I know that doesn't sound like a success, but it was a success for me. So anyway, like, I am making better choices. What I've realized is that this is a longer process than I thought it was going to be, I think this is why through the years, I've seen so many of my friends. There was a point, a couple years ago, I think it was like when I hit like 255 or something like that, but I just kind of gave up. At that time we were talking a lot about, or people online were talking a lot about, loving the body that you're in and things like that. And I was like, I kind of think that that's the attitude that I need to go with, which I do believe that you should love whatever body you're in that you're given for that day. I do believe that, right? That doesn't mean that you don't want to change that body. That doesn't mean that you don't want to become healthier. It just means for that day, love the body that you're in, right? And don't beat yourself up. There's nothing you can do about it in 24 hours, right? So why beat yourself up so drastically? Well, I kind of got to that point. I kind of just was like, this is who I am. I'm heavy and I'm just gonna, whatever. And then all these health concerns started coming up and I was like, no, you need to really deal with this, right? And I, got up into the 260s and I just kind of had this like, I don't care attitude about it. I always like had this dream, of being in a 32 gene again, but I was like, it's just unreachable. It's never going to happen to me. This is just the weight I am, whatever. Your husband loves you for it. Just accept it for what it is, right? But I wasn't really happy. And I wasn't really happy because food always was a struggle for me. Like, it wasn't just like I was eating and I was happy all the time. If that was the case, maybe I wouldn't have made that choice. It wasn't like I looked in the mirror and I was like, God, I love my body so much. Like, I was really struggling. Not on top of that, I had all these doctors that were telling me, like, you're really having some health concerns. Like, you need, like, you're going to be pre-diabetic. You need to look at your weight. You need to lose some weight. You need to get healthier. You need to be eating healthier. It wasn't just about losing weight. My doctors have, like, and I haven't talked a lot about this, but focused a lot on healthier eating, lower cholesterol, things like that, And so when I was looking at all that, I was like, that was when I was like, okay, this can be kind of a trap. This is just my honesty. This like love your body that you're in kind of attitude, it can really be a trap for me for unhealthiness because it's a very easy way of, and like equating it to addiction. It's just kind of like where I was at a point where it's like, I'm never going to get sober. It's not going to get any different. So why even try? Like, you've gone through treatment several times. You've tried so many times. It's never going to get any better for you. Then just give up, right? And I think towards the end, before I got sober, I kind of reached that point. Like, I was just kind of like, I've said this in videos. I didn't care if I lived or died. I didn't want to die, but I didn't care if I lived or died. If I just didn't wake up, I didn't wake up, right? And I think I kind of got there with food, if you want to know the truth, and with my weight. I just was kind of like, when people would say things to me about how unhealthy I was and whatever, it's like people would throw up pictures of me online with like my gut showing and whatever. And it was like, you think I don't know what I look like with my gut? Like, you think I don't see it every day in the mirror? Like, okay, like, you're trying to be cruel with this, but like I see it 10 times worse. Like, that picture actually doesn't look as bad as I feel like I look when I look in the mirror. I never had any kind of like false reality of what I looked like. I never like thought I looked good. I would always say like, I'm going to lose weight 6 months from now when we go to Ultra Music Festival, and I never would. I'd actually probably put on weight, right? And beat myself up for, I'm going to lose weight for this, or I'm going to lose weight for that, right? And I never did. And I always beat myself up. And the reason why was because I wasn't really looking at all of the issues. It wasn't just about losing weight. That was a huge part of it. But it was also about being consistent with my doctors, looking at the health concerns of it. Maintaining weight is just as important as losing weight. Like, that's one of the things I've really learned through this. So it's been a struggle for me, and this week it was not great. I weighed myself this morning. I was 207.8. I think when I weighed myself last week, I was 207.1. So I think it's 0.7 points up, which is, it's 0.7 points up, which is not a lot. And I know people are going to be like, that's water weight, blah, blah, blah. I'm weighing, this is a week in between, okay? Like, at this point, the water weight's gone. Let's just put that out there, okay? Like, what my weight is, I'm fully aware is my weight, okay? And I have weighed myself quite a bit this week, and it's wavered around that. So I know that that's not like, when people say that about, like, well, it's probably water weight, it's like they always say, like, if you lose 10 pounds in a week, they go, well, that's water weight. Well, the water's out of my system at this point, okay? Like, it's been 17 weeks. So, and I've actually even talked to my doctor about that. My doctor's like, the weight on the scale at this point is the weight on the scale. It's accurate, okay? And I weighed myself enough over this week to know that I was wavering around that, and so I know that that's pretty accurate. And we have a very accurate scale that my dad bought me years ago. And so it's like, it has like the BMI and everything on there. And so, so I was 0.7 pounds up. Now I have to tell you, I think I was actually higher than that when I kind of had like the breakdown and called my friend and was talking to her and stuff on the phone, because I was kind of like, I don't really know what to do anymore. I gained like, I think it was like, I was like up like 1.2 pounds or something like that. Not 2 pounds, 1.2 pounds. And I was like, I don't really know what to do, but I also don't want to become fixated on the number. Like, that's really important to me, to not become fixated on the number. And I think that was one of the things that was hard for me with the doctors, was that there was always like this number in their head that they like were so fixated on, like under 200, under 200, under 200, but really 190. We really like you around 190, right? And so I became really fixated on this like number thing, and I don't want to do that because I don't think that that's healthy for me and my mentality. I'm also somebody that, and I have to be very careful of this, I'm somebody that can get very fixated on, I mean, this kind of goes into like eating disorder area of like feelings of like not eating for days in a row and like the high that you feel off of it, which is very, very dangerous for me. And so I don't do that anymore. Like if I ever fast, I always like it's doctor assisted. It's a set amount of time and things like that, right? I also have to be very careful. Like if I lose a lot of weight very quickly, like in the past, that's been dangerous for me. Like that kind of feels like a high for me. And I have to be very, very careful of that, right? Because that's not healthy for me at all. And it's not maintainable either. And it's not healthy for anybody to lose mass amounts of weight very, very quickly. It's not maintainable and it's not healthy. And so I have to be very, very careful of that. And I think at first when I started doing this and talking to my doctors, and they're like, yeah, like 1 to 2 pounds a week is like super like healthy and achievable. And I was like, that's kind of slow. I mean, in all honesty, I was kind of like, I'm somebody that like in the past could drop weight that quick. And I was like, that's kind of slow. Well, I haven't really lost that much weight. Other than that, it's been a lot slower than that. And I've been gravitating around this 207 mark. And I'm like, it's really like, I'm really struggling with it, right? To the point where this week I was like, I'm not going to do it anymore, you know? And this is the thing where people say, you should never share this online, because people that do stuff online, like it's not helpful for them, and studies have proven, and that people that lose weight online, it's not achievable. I don't know what those studies say. I haven't actually looked at those studies, okay? I think I read one article a month ago or something like that when somebody said it on video. I was like, is that true? I'm gonna look this up. All I can say for me is that knowing that I'm going to make this video every week is a level of accountability that I need in my life. I'm not planning on stopping these videos. Even if I gain 10 pounds, 20 pounds, I'm not going to stop these videos. I'm going to share authentically what's going on in my life. And, you know, I live out loud. That's what I do in my sobriety, and that's what I'm going to do with this. That's the one lesson I've carried over from well, many lessons, but that's the one biggest lesson that I've learned, is to just live out loud and share my story with what I'm, you know, going through. This has been a struggle. This has been the first time in several weeks that I've actually gained weight on a weigh-in. And I have to say that even though, like, I'm not happy about it, I don't feel like I would have felt, let's say, 17 weeks ago. Like, I feel like, you know what, this is just part of your journey, and maybe next week you'll lose 2 to 3 pounds, maybe you'll gain a pound, but you'll figure it out. Like, I know that now. Like, I've been on this and been doing this long enough that I'm like, you're not going to get back to, like, 215 or 220 again. Like, you're not going to allow that to happen, right? And so you're inching towards where you need to be. You're getting back down to the level that you want to be again. And for me, I'm content with that, you know? Even if this takes me a year or two, I'm okay with that. And, you know, I think because I had seen people do it online where they like, you know, it's like the Facebook, I see this on Facebook, where the transformations in a year, and people lose like 160 pounds in a year. And they show themselves at the beginning, and then it's like over the course of time, over the course of a year, they lose like 160 pounds. Those are so inspiring and motivating to me. But I just don't know that that's who I am. I just don't know that I'm somebody that is going to, like, be at the gym every day, whatever, right? Like, I have to also, like, if I'm going to maintain this over a long period of time, I kind of have to fit into my regimen, like, who I am, right? And know what I like. And that's not, like, saying that I'm going to not work out and not, you know, walk and not lift weights and things like that. That's just trying to figure out what that looks like for me, you know? One of the things I never would have said 4 or 5 years ago is that I actually like being outside and doing things outside. Today I can say that. So trying to, like, in the summer, figure out fitness stuff for me to be outside and do that. Like, a lot of people have mentioned swimming laps in the pool, which is one of the things I'm going to start doing. You know, that's something that I think is, like, good for me. Like, I think I love to go to the pool. So I go to the pool when there's nobody else there, you know, take my neighbor up with me, and she and I can go swim laps. She loves to swim laps. You know, and so that's something that I can do. Walking outside, I love to do that. I can listen to my, you know, my books on tape. I eventually want to start running again. I'd like to start running. My goal was by May we're gonna reassess that goal. So I'm nowhere near running. So I think I'm gonna wait, like set that goal until like August, September, so that when fall comes around, it's a little cooler outside. I can be running, but I would hope to be running by August, September. I used to run a lot back in the day. I was like an avid runner every single day, and I loved it. And as far as like, it wasn't even about so much about the weight loss or anything like that. It was also about like the endorphins that I felt of just like running, and it was different than walking. It felt 100% different. When I got done with a run, I felt so fantastic, and I'd like to get back to that, you know. But I'm not 28 anymore. I'm going to be 52 this month, you know. And so, yeah, I think seeing Stevie Nicks on stage at 76 years old, doing her best to dance and whatever, you know, even when it was a real struggle for her, I was like, you know, I think you always in your head think of yourself as this very old person, and, you know, you're going to be 52 years old. That's not old by any means. And there's people that are running marathons. They're at 80 years old. There are people that are doing this. Like, this is your time to do this. And so I think that 52 is going to be the healthiest year of my life. And I'm really excited about that. So that's where I'm at for today. I gained 0.7 pounds. You know, it is what it is. And I'm not going to beat myself up over it. And I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.